Hey everybody, Shadow Visions or SV here. Today I'm planning on reviewing some of the games that I played a couple weeks ago, and I thought, why not record that process and share with the community, and see if there's interest in this type of content. Um, I know there's a lot of interest in multiplayer kicking off with the summer tournament starting again soon here, and maybe this sort of review will help people realize some things that maybe they didn't understand about multiplayer, or just be interesting content. And there's two reasons why I think this might be a good idea to record. The first is purely selfish, which is that by going back and making this sort of content, you are reinforcing your learnings um, from what you experienced by consolidating that information and explaining it to someone. So my understanding of the concepts is improving because I have to go through and kind of explain things. Also, this helps my own play because the whole point of doing a review is looking at what I did wrong and seeing what I could do better for next time. And the second reason is more community oriented. I think this is a really cool community. Small, but really passionate. And I want to give back. So hopefully, this type of content is helpful or interesting. Let me know if it is. Let me know if there's things that you would like to see. I'm planning some other minor content here and there for the multiplayer scene that hopefully people enjoy. So, yeah. So, the first thing I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to talk about what makes a good review. And this is coming from my experience playing a number of other games at a competitive level. Excuse me. Um, there's not much point in just watching a game back if you're not going to attack it from the right perspective. So you need to come equipped with your learning mindset ready. The nice thing about a non-team competitive game where you're on your own, it's an individual game, is that you really only have yourself to blame. Now, you can make excuses and say, oh, it was lag, or oh, he got lucky with the spawns. And there's a time and place where you have to acknowledge where those things played a factor. But when you start using them as excuses, then you're not going to be open to improving your own play. And the fact is, this is a very unoptimized, um, untapped game with a lot of potential to improve. Even the best players at this game are nowhere near the level of play if they played absolutely perfectly. And so that's exciting. There's a lot of potential to try and do the best you can at this sort of game, and pretty much anyone would be able to win a tournament. I feel like if they put in the time and effort into learning and improving, and by doing some of these things, that's how I've come to a position where I'm competitive with some of the better players in the community. So today I'm going to go back and review two games that I saw were close from some matches the other day. I try and record as many matches as I can just in case I wanted to go back and see something. I have not watched these games back yet, so I don't know what's going to be in them. They could be really embarrassing. The only thing that I checked for is that the games were somewhat competitive. So it's not going to be a stomp one way or the other. There should be a lot of learnings because the close games are the ones where a tiny thing here or there would have made the difference. And in the tournament, you don't really care about the margin of victory all that much. Like, it might matter for some niche tiebreaker situation, but pretty much all that matters is whether you won or lost, right? Whether it's by 1 point or 100 points, it's a win. So if you can tweak one or two small things about your play to get a 2 point loss into a 2 point win, then sometimes that's all you need to advance in the tournament. And, that can make all the difference. And we see that in a lot of competitive games and sports today. All right, so enough dilly dally. Let's talk about what makes a good review. So yeah, we're gonna go through the games and pause every time there's a notable decision point. And these games were 2 weeks ago, so let's see, looking at the given position in the game, what I think I should be doing if I played optimally. And then we can compare and see what actual me from 2 weeks ago did. So we're going to pause before we see me make a choice if we can. And then we're going to ask ourselves some things. So what does a decision point look like? Well, this is, could be a number of different things. The most obvious one is anytime a new set of gems spawns, that's new information that's being injected into the game that both players have to respond to immediately. So almost every time a new set of gems spawns, we're going to have a key decision to make. But it's not limited to spawns. There may also be a situation where our opponent interacts with us in a different way. So we get blasted off a cliff and suddenly we respawn somewhere completely different. Or we screw up in one of our executions and respawn differently and suddenly have to reevaluate our game plan. And also when a spawn has been mostly collected, there's typically a decision point in every spawn, depending on the map, where you have to ask yourself, should I pick up this gem or should I spend time preparing for the next spawn? And so some maps, this is extremely important. Now, when we're paused and evaluating, what to do, we should ask ourselves some questions. So when you're going to a new spawn, what's the fastest way, given my current map knowledge, to get from my current scenario, not position? Scenario includes position, utility, so what power up you have, blast status, and anything else that might be relevant, such as the status of where moving platforms are in the map, something like that. What is the best route to take to secure the largest delta, which is point differential, over my opponent and set myself up best for next spawn? So we don't only have to consider how many gems we get, we have to consider how many gems our opponent gets, and also what's our power-up status going to be. So our power-up utility economy, if we spend a power-up to get a gem, that's suddenly a power-up we don't have for the next spawn, unless we can find a way to path to pick up a different power-up. And then we have to think about, where is our opponent and what is life looking like on their side? Given their current position and what we know about them, which might not be complete information, what would they be most likely to do? And we have to incorporate that and kind of react to it. So there's a feedback loop here that we need to take into account. Maybe they'll think about what we're doing when they make their decision. And so there's a little bit of a mind game here. And then finally, just kind of a thought experiment. If both myself and my opponent execute perfectly on this spawn, what's the expected result? Who's in a more favorable position with perfect play that should be expected to win this spawn? And, sometimes this would be helpful in a game. So if your opponent is much more likely to get a spawn than you, maybe that factors into your decision making. Maybe it's not even worth going for that spawn if you're only going to get 1 or 2 gems, when you could instead set up a default and be better prepared for the subsequent spawn. And then once we do that for the entire game, it's worth asking some reflection questions about the match. So, these can vary depending on what your goals are as a player. But some examples of ideas would be, are you overall satisfied with how you played? How would you rate your performance? And how do I think my opponent played relative to what we know about them and how well they typically play? What factors played the biggest difference maker in the game? Were there any key spawns or moments that really decided the outcome? And why or why not? Was it kind of even throughout the game, or was there a pivotal moment where it really determined the outcome? Another thing you can consider is, relative to the scoreboard, you might be really far behind or really far ahead, and that might make you optimally, you should play differently, depending on that situation. So you can ask yourself if you incorporated that difference into your play. Another example would be, did you execute on your plans properly? Was it execution that did you in? Did you have the right plans? Or maybe you had the wrong plans and you executed fine, didn't make very many mechanical mistakes, but you were going about it in the wrong way. This is also a situation where you could ask yourself if luck or ping played a significant role. Don't use it as a scapegoat, but be realistic about your situation, your outcome, what server you played on. If they got some really lucky spawns, in the long run, luck will average out, but within a particular match, it can absolutely be decided by just unluckiness with the gem spawns. Either way. Okay, so hopefully that's all making sense. We're 10 minutes in now, so let's actually get started looking at a game. This is going to be one of what I think is a more enjoyable map, Skate Park Square. On a map like this, it really tests pretty much everything about you as a player. You have to have good understanding of the marble physics. You have to have good preparedness when it comes to your power up and blast status. You have to have good knowledge of where your opponent is and what their pathing options are for each spawn, that sort of stuff. So hopefully this will be a good example that we can learn from. I'm going to skip to the start of the game. Oh, I should mention that I'm playing against Mazik in these two games, who I think is a really, really good player. Probably contends for best active player, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think there's a lot that we can learn from these games. So here, let me just make sure I can maybe get a better view of the first spawn. This is the first spawn, and I know something that I'm working on as a player is trying to have better starts, because my starts are, traditionally very bad. I usually start the first 30 seconds down like 10 to 20 points because other players have a lot more experience with how to go from 0 to 100 really quickly with these spawns. So we can see that this spawn is right in front of us. And there's one yellow that's going to be worth the majority of the points. Now, given the map knowledge and the power-up radar, we know there's a super speed available to us right behind this pole. There's a super jump available here. So what do we think is the best option, or what we're most likely to do? Off the top of my head, I'm thinking about grabbing this super jump behind the pole and then trying to aim for the yellow. We may or may not have to use super speed for that, depending on what Mazik does here. And the interesting thing about these competitive mode starts is that you're both coming from the same spot. So on the first spawn or two, you basically have the exact same set of options available to you both. So once we have the yellow, we're going to be in the pits, and then depending on what Mazik does, there's probably this pair of gems and this pair of gems. We optimally probably should trade 1 for 1 because it's difficult to get all 4 of these in a succession. And then we should be looking to have a super speed available to us once we're in the pit to try and prepare for the next spawn. I like to have a super speed when I'm in these kind of trenches, since you can use the ramps to get pretty much anywhere. So let's see what we do. My start is probably not the best. It's a little bit slower. So we both actually try and go for this yellow and fail. I try and get back up and use the super speed for that, and then I grab the super speed. So we've both gotten, I think, 3 points here. And he's in the trenches. I have a super speed, so it might not be the best idea for me to go down for this red. We'll see if I actually do. But at this point, probably safer not to, because I would be recovering and he would be in a position where he could react first. Yeah, okay, so I don't end up going for it. I wait at the power-up timer, and I prepare with a super jump and a blast, which is really good. Okay, so at this point, we see what I did a little bit, but the gem spawn was on the other half of the map. I'm trying to get there as fast as I can. With a super jump, this is probably the best way I can do that. Maybe I could have gone above or not. But I've lost track of Mazik here. So I know he was in the trenches somewhere. I can only guess that he's coming from the left. And at this point, he might have a better chance of getting to this yellow faster than me. The yellow really is the grand prize with this spawn, because once you get it, you have the option of going around either side of this little pyramid, whichever way you want. There's obviously a leftover jump here that you would want to path down to the right. And just from map knowledge, I know that there is a blast and a super jump over here that we'll want to get before the third spawn of the game. So let's see what happens. I managed to land right on the yellow, missed the red though, but you can see I'm already thinking about the super jump and blast that I need to get to prepare for the next spawn. So at this point, I'm not sure if he has a power up or not, just because I don't know how exactly he got to this spawn. Really hard to determine that in the moment, but it looks like it's going to be another, trench spawn of reds on the other side of the pipe. And so at this point, super jump's all right. I'm probably going to jump into the pit and use it. If he has a super speed, he may be able to get there faster, but this is not a very important spawn, because these trench spawns, the way they work is that most players are going to split them 50-50 or very close to 50-50, just because it's hard to get a bunch of them in quick succession. So it's a very close game right now, and it probably will continue that way. Yep, he has a super speed. He jumps over. I'm not sure my blast hit him, but I expect this to go maybe +1 or -1 gem either way. It looks like it's a complete tie. Okay, so it's another trench spawn. I have a super speed. Not really much to talk about here. Just need to get to the next spawn and collect as much as I can and worry about having super speed for the spawn after this. Okay, managed to get 2 that way. Mazik seems like he made a mistake here, but I'm going to equal that and miss the yellow. Another trench spawn. So while we're in the trenches, it's mostly just going to be about pace and mechanics and trying to get from spawn to spawn as quick as possible. Grab the gyro, which might come in handy later. We both missed the yellow. Maybe this is not the highest level of game I could have picked, but I'm able to get that back. And then once I'm up here, I'm thinking about, on this side and on the opposite side of Skate Park Square, there's a blast super jump combo. I prefer to have the super jump when I'm at this level, the middle level, because it's very forgiving. With a super speed, you can argue that it's faster to get up to the top level or get to the other side of the map. So in more cases, it may be better. But it's a lot riskier because you open yourself up to making mechanical mistakes with the super speed, and the super jump is very easy to get right. Especially if it's on that top spawn, you'll probably get there first. Okay, so I've left the last gem, and it looks like he is as well. And not really much to discuss here. There's just a spawn below us, and now that I'm in the trench, I want to get a super speed. I'll grab this leftover while I'm here. It's another trench spawn, so we're probably just going to split this one pretty evenly as well. Need to get a super speed before the next spawn, and right here, we have some decision making to do. This is primarily top middle spawn. There's one yellow in the trench that I can probably get on my way up if I play this right, and I'm in a better position to do that than Mazik because he was on the corner of the trench. So on my way up can include this yellow, whereas he's probably just going to go for the set of top gems. So I expect this to be pretty close. I think he might be able to get this yellow first, but I should have the advantage on this yellow. And if I can, I should try and get a super speed on the way up here. So that's what I'll maybe able to do, but at the cost of the yellow. So he's going to get that yellow, and then I'm probably going to go back for this one before he can react. Yeah. So this is another pipe spawn, I think, or maybe middle level, but there is basically this half pipe in the way, so he's probably going to beat me here. But it's not going to be enough of an advantage that I shouldn't go for this at all. So I still need to try and get there. And not my best play. Didn't use blast there, able to get 1 gem. But at this point, I sack the spawn, knowing I'm not going to be able to contest any of this. And yeah, I stay in the trench with a super speed, and with my position, I'm able to get up here pretty quickly. He's able to match it. His blast isn't really that effective. Spend the super speed, which is arguable whether I should or not. So now the next spawn comes over here. So it's on the middle level here on the right. And I have enough blast that I should be able to get over there. Mazik just blasted me, so I'm not sure he's going to be able to make this jump very easily. So I might have a slight advantage, but I don't have a power-up. So this is another one where there's not too much to talk about. We'll see what happens. Actually opt to go in the pipe and use the blast to get up, which does not work. And it's pretty embarrassing. Able to make that work, though. So at this point, he has a 10-point lead, which is not really a huge deal. And another pipe spawn. He has a nice little chain of gems there. So I come up this half pipe, and something I do here is I could pick up the last red, but I would have no blast and no power up, even though it's right in front of me. So the better thing to do here, knowing Mazik is not going to contest this once I start going for this last gem, is get a power up and get a blast first. And then I can run at the final gem with momentum towards the center and more of the likely spawns, and I'll be better prepared for the next spawn. Obviously, I don't know where he is at this point, so he could have blast, he could have super speed, he could have super jump, he could be in the trench, he could be on the middle level. So there's a lot of possibilities, and that's something I have to consider for the next one. Okay, so it actually times out, and it's across the map. So I see where he is, and he immediately uses super speed. So he's not going to have a power-up once he gets there, but he probably will be there first. So I keep my super jump. He's able to get up there, and I try and blast him out of this since I was able to pick up that blast. He still is able to get the gem, which is unfortunate, but I have kind of thrown him off course for the time being. He's probably going to bounce off of this ramp and then go back for that yellow, and he might get the super jump over there as well. So at this point, I'm trying to clean up as much as I can. I think he opted to go for that red instead of the blast and yellow, which is a mistake on his part, but it's not going to be a huge deal. We were able to get blast replenished for ourselves as well. So I've slightly come out ahead on this spawn, which is a good thing in terms of momentum. Okay, so there's a top spawn, and this is why I like to have a super jump on this level. Um, if you end up with one of the top spawns like this, you're gonna get there a hell of a lot faster using the super jump. And I don't know what he actually picked up. I probably should have paid more attention. I imagine it's a super jump, or maybe a gyrocopter if he was unlucky and got stuck with something like that. Either way, I probably should be here first just based on where the positioning is. Yeah, so this is played well. I'm able to get a huge chunk of points, maybe even the whole spawn. So he's here at this point, and he's going to miss this entire spawn. And I'm going to be in a better position because he's kind of recovering from going this way with the super speed. So let's see what happens. Okay, so this is a spawn right below me. I know this yellow is just going to be on the lip of the half pipe, and so I can probably run towards it and bounce off towards the rest of the reds. And I do have blast to knock Mazik away if it comes to it. Yep, so I'm going to do that. He doesn't land there. Need to get a super speed before the end of the spawn. Don't manage to do so, and he does, so he's going to be a little bit ahead of this one. Still close enough to get some gems, though, which is good. You can argue I should have grabbed this super jump in the corner based on how I played, but something I do really well here is I see the opportunity for blasting him away from this gem and knocking him to the half pipe. This might be him trying to super speed back. Yeah, it is. So he manages to hold on, but you know the impact of that play is that he now doesn't have the super speed to get to the next spawn. So I transition here as fast as I can. Despite the advantage I gained for myself, he mostly comes out even. Next spawn comes, fastest thing I can do is just kind of super speed over. I'm not sure if I'll be here first or not. Looks like I am barely, and that's enough to get small advantage here. So it looks like this is going to be in the top right pillar just based off the radar information I have. And so this super jump is something I want to keep, I think. The other possibility is that you could go for the super speed and try and go up the pipe, which might be what Mazik is about to do here. But, you know, he's right in front of me. I don't think either of us have blast at this point. So it's just going to be a game of mechanics to see who can get there first. Yep, he goes for the super speed option. I go for the super jump option. And when you have the super jump option, you're going to be more precise with where you land. You're going to have a lot more spin from the super speed unless you can control it really well. Like, obviously, Mazik is capable of that, and I am too on a good day. But the super jump is a little bit cleaner, and so that's why I opt to keep it. So, able to land on the yellows and clean this one up nicely. Okay, so there's a top spawn here. I have a full blast bar, so I think the best thing to do here would be grab this super speed, ram into this ramp, and use my blast to try and get up to the top level. If that fails, or for whatever reason that seems like a bad idea, there's a super jump on the right over here. And Mazik should also be falling down here at the same time as me, or if he managed to pick up the super speed on the way up with the ramp, he can just super speed from there, which would be the best case scenario for him. Okay, so I don't even grab the super speed because my blast bar was that full, which is nice. Looks like Mazik used the full half pipe, which is a little slower than me. So this is gonna be, at this point I'm falling, I have extremely little time to react, but it looks like this radar is the middle layer behind me. And so what I should try and do is go from this side and kind of ride the half pipe up back behind me. But there's not really a lot of time to decision make here, so we'll see what ends up happening. Okay, it looks like for the most part I do that well. Mazik made the better decision not to fall, and so he's able to get here a little bit first. So it'll probably be +2 or 3 reds for him. But notice I'm still grabbing the super speed here. Trying to prepare for the next spawn. This is another kind of obvious half pipe thing. Just try and get there as fast as I can. Aim for the yellow, but obviously there's a pole in my way. So it'll be hard to do, but either way, I gotta try. And I do manage to pull it off with the water, so that's good. always prioritize getting a super speed to have a power up. Okay, so that we're going back where we came from here. I should be able to super speed off the kind of middle of this here, which would allow me to go straight and try and land on that middle level. Just want to make sure I'm still asking the questions I planned out. Yeah, okay. So yeah, basically do that exactly. It seems like I'm playing all right here, given my thoughts with infinite time are what I generally decided to do in the game. Right here, it was kind of half pipe in the way again. So the nice thing about this is it's going to be hard for Mazik to get both of these yellows in the same way. So whichever one he doesn't get, I should be able to get relatively safely. But there are 4 reds at the top here as well. So I think the best case is I use this blast to try and get up here with the 4 reds. Whichever yellow he goes for, I let him have, and then I go for the other one and try and get a super speed for the next spawn. I end up going for the yellow, which is interesting, and he's going to be able to get almost all of this spawn. So, yeah, not probably the optimal thing. Well played by me trying to grab that yellow there and able to get that. So even spawn there. And then since I went into the middle, I have access to the gyrocopter, which is going to be not the fastest way, but the fastest way I had available to try and get these gems. The yellow is obviously the most important since it's next to these 2 other gems. So this is going to be a majority of the spawn right here in this chunk. So whoever gets this first is going to walk away ahead from the spawn. We're both probably going to use a power up to get here. So I need to think about what I can get to try and prepare for the next spawn, which could be really important, given that this is basically a dead even game up until now, and the clock is running out. So, yeah, 97, 95 at this point. Whoever gets this chunk of gems at this point in the game is probably going to win, because there's only 3 reds left over here. But we do probably have 1 more spawn. And so there's not really an accessible super jump, which is the safest power up here. There is a super speed here and a gyrocopter here, both of which may or may not be best depending on the situation. So we're kind of rolling the dice here. This is anyone's game at this point. So we'll see who's able to get this chunk of gems. Okay, so I jump off, which is probably not the best way I could have done, but I still managed to secure the yellow, which is 2 points denied from him. So if this spawn is even, that's still a win for me as long as I am able to be in a better position for the final spawn. Okay, he went for the same thing as me. He's going to have to grab this red. So I was in a position to kind of camp that red if he didn't go for it and run out the clock, which is something that you should be prepared to do. With the super jump here, there's not really any way I can make it to any of these gems in 4 seconds. Maybe if I already had the gyrocopter at this point, I could have done it. But given the gyrocopter is still here, and there's no super jump that spawns in this area, I'm pretty confident Mazik either has no power up or a super speed. And so I don't think he's going to be able to get the 4 points needed to win here. So, I mean, I go up here in case I'm able to somehow grab one, but yeah, the clock runs out, and I'm able to keep the lead by 4 points. So, looking back at these questions to ask after the match, am I satisfied with how I played? Yeah, I would say so. There was really only 1 or 2 points in that game where I felt like I made a major mistake. And, you know, most of them were probably mechanical. There was one instance I can remember where right now me reviewing thought I should do something significantly differently than what I actually did. And that generally means that given I have all the time in the world to think about what I should do right now, and I had, you know, less than half a second to optimally think about it in the heat of the moment in the game, that means I made some good decisions, and that I played at a really high level. Obviously, I'm playing against Mazik, so I have to do that all the time to have a chance to even win the game. But we saw in that case that it was enough. So I would rate my performance probably 9 out of 10 for this game relative to my current level. How I think my opponent played, I thought there were a few situations where Mazik did something I didn't really expect. Either with, you know, power up usage or gem pathing. There was one situation where he gave up a yellow that I was able to get, and so that's a 2-point swing in the score right there. Plus, I had a blast and he didn't at that moment, so these things add up, and that could have been honestly the difference in the game if we go back and want to butterfly effect it. But he didn't really play a bad game at all. This is just how it played out. I didn't really feel like either of us got particularly lucky with the spawns either. Most of us were, or both of us were very close throughout the entire game, kind of executing a similar strategy as oftentimes happens on a map like this, where there's so many super speeds and power-ups around that most players have access to the same sort of toolkit. I wouldn't say there was a really big spawn that swung it. There was one or two spawns where he got almost all of it, and one or two spawns where I got almost all of it. Were there any blues? I don't really recall there being. Yeah, this was a no blue game. And when you think about, swinging of outcomes, it's typically the blues that really make a difference. Because, it's a 10-point swing either way in the score. One person getting it versus the other person not getting it. So that kind of explains why this was such a close game throughout without really any major leads. There was about half the game where he was ahead and half the game where I was ahead. So it really came down to a game of inches there. And last minute of the match, did I play that taking into account the current scores? I didn't have the luxury of doing this because it was an even game. The margin of the lead was about 10 points max throughout the entire match. And so this question doesn't really apply to this game. And finally, executing or right plans. I feel like I played decently well this game. There was one or two mistakes in raw mechanical execution. There was one or two situations where there may have been a better plan. And I should add that, reviewing this now, even with all the time in the world, I'm not the perfect player by any stretch of the imagination. There probably is things that I haven't caught that would have been a better play for any given spawn here. But given what I currently know, with my current experience as a player, I thought that overall my plans that I executed in the game were pretty well. And I don't think luck played a huge factor either way. I mean, in a game as close as this, you can always argue that luck played a factor, but I think 4 points either way would have made sense for this game. Okay, so the next game is going to be from the same VOD I wanted to look at, Platinum Construction Co., which is a really daunting map. There's so much to think about, and that's part of what makes it good to review, especially since it was a close game. Okay, so we load into the game here. When you load in, it's a really interesting experience because you have 3 seconds to try and plot out everything that you could ever do. I know that the gems are right above me, and I know that there is a lot of spawn abuse in this map, and one of the things that you need to do to get up here is just kind of go out of bounds over here. So obviously I can see he's rolling in the same direction as well, so Mazik is very aware about the respawn abuse on pretty much every map as a solo hunt connoisseur. So I expect him to do this as well, and we'll see. 2 players can't share the same spawn, so whoever dies first is probably going to get a more favorable respawn. Looks like I was able to get it, so he's probably going to spawn over here on the left off screen somewhere, but this puts me in a better position to get the red, and I can path around and get the yellow and these 2 reds, and then try and look for a power-up like this super speed here. I'm going to take a water break real quick. Alright, let's see what happens. I missed the red, which is not good. I missed that red. I do grab this super speed and eventually struggle over to this next gem. At this point, the spawn is below us. There's a yellow and 5 reds that are surrounding it. So basically same thing. Want to go for the yellow and then branch out over there, whichever direction is still left available. And the fastest way down is going to be just under this platform or from the hole back left off screen. So I try and do this. Platform's a little unlucky. Obviously, Mazik's doing the same thing. And I get blasted. And was that me super speeding the complete wrong direction? Let's watch that again. I'm not actually sure what happened here. I get blasted there by Mazik for sure. At this point, I'm trying to super speed, obviously, across the red and yellow to grab these. Do I hit the edge of this platform and that makes my direction? Sorry, I just really want to understand what's happening. Yeah, I think my ball spin is just really weird. So when I super speed, it sends me in a completely unexpected direction. So obviously he's going to get the advantage here. I'm going to try and get this super speed to benefit from any respawn abuse and then try and get the 2 reds over here. Yep, so I did that. I fail at doing that. This is a very technical map, so I'm going to make a lot of mistakes. The next spawn is just above us, so if I wanted to get up there, I could respawn abuse off the pole to my right, or I could try and go up the platform since it's pretty close there, and I could grab a blast that way. Fastest way is definitely respawn abuse, but Mazik has already grabbed the spawn above us, so we'll see if I still go for that. Oh, I fall out of bounds, which is really unlucky. You can see Mazik is doing the exact same respawn abuse that I need to be doing. So this spawn is probably going to be his. Yeah, I needed to hit the pole, because if you don't hit the pole, it's not going to work. But yeah, so he grabs the yellow and is going to get at least these 2 gems. So my goal is to get these 2, and you can kind of see this chain of gems here. The best play from this point, since this is a new decision point with my respawn, is let him have these 2 gems. If his best play is probably grab this gem and the blast super jump. Super jump, this is just like Skate Park Square, actually, where the middle level, you want to have the super jump in order to get up to the top as fast as possible. And on the bottom level, I like to have the super speed so that you can use that for respawn abuse really quickly. The super jump is only going to help you if you're all the way out here on the right, on the lower level. So yeah, we'll see what I do. I should go for this chain here. So I actually go for the 3rd gem, and so this leaves me without a power-up and without blast for the next spawn. Now, obviously, he would have gotten this gem if I didn't. So either way, this next spawn would come, and he'd be better prepared probably. But I could be in a better position than I am right now if I went for those. With the super jump, I could probably grab this. Now, the platform is conveniently down here at this point. I'm not sure how long the delay is before it goes back up, but given I have full blast, not ultra blast, but full blast, I could probably still make it on this platform. And if I'm able to do that, I'd probably make it in a similar time to Mazik, so we'll see. Okay, so I didn't react in time, so I just won't save the blast, and, conveniently enough, I guess Mazik didn't have a super jump either, so we ride the platform up. He's in a better position, which is just entirely him playing better. I shouldn't have been in the middle of this platform, knowing that there's a giant thing in the middle of this map. So he's probably going to go for these, either these 3 reds or red, yellow, red. For 3 or 4 points, then I'm going to be stuck with the scraps here. Given I still don't have a power-up, I need to be thinking about where I get these. I know there's a blast behind me, just from map knowledge, and there's a super speed over here, so both of those would be great to have. We'll see what happens, though. Okay, he goes red, red, red. I'm able to get actually 4 points out of this, which, I think he could have played this better looking it back. Yeah, so, there's, 7 points in this spawn? So I think the best scenario for him is red, yellow, red, or maybe this red, yellow, red is 5 points out of 7. Because there's no way that I should be able to beat him from this position. He could even maybe get the super speed first. But I guess maybe he has an awkward bounce with this spin. But I'm able to get that and sit on the super speed, which is going to be useful because this next spawn is a blue. And, there's 5 reds and 1 blue. So if you grab this blue, you've basically won the spawn already. Now, the situation where this blue is makes it difficult to super speed directly there, because obviously the ground's going to run out here. So this is the kind of situation where the best thing to do is actually, fall off the cliff as fast as possible so you can use your super speed to get there. So maybe I should be blasting right now and then try and go over the arch and then super speed there. We'll see what I actually do. The other approach that could be taken is try and get to the blast and then blast Mazik away. I know he's behind me right now, um, and he's a very quick player, so even if I try my best with the super speed here, he might be able to at least tie me, which is still a fine outcome. But we do want to have an advantage if we can, and if I can blast them and secure the 10-point swing for me, that'd be the best outcome. So I like both options, but probably the blast is the better play. Okay, so he actually comes around to the left of me. He's not going to grab the blast, which is, I mean, you may as well to deny me at this point. But if he already had one, then, I understand why he's not trying to grab it. But even when I have blast and I know the other play is near, I try and grab it for that reason. So I'm going to grab this blast here, and we'll see what happens. Yeah. So this is an easy blast. He tries to do a really fancy, flashy, I guess is the word I'm looking for, backward super speed to grab this. Doesn't look like he's going to pull it off. So given I'm running here into the blue, my next move could be to 180 super speed back and try and get some of these reds. Okay, so I actually use it to secure. And then I could go try and get these other reds, but I don't have any blast charge since I just blasted him, and this super jump is going to be useful here. And this actually gives me the lead in this game, despite me really screwing up these first few spawns. I think Mazik should probably have the lead here if he played the last few spawns better. Okay, so we let that last gem be a leftover here. And then this next spawn is just below us, so there's not really anything to talk about here. Just try and jump down and grab as many as I can. Probably red, 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 or red, 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 super speed would be the best course of action. But, I mean, he's here, so there's a good chance we share a lot of this. Okay, so he blasts me. I guess full screen is better. I mean, for him blasting me, I think it caught him off guard more than me. I was able to get a majority of that spawn. So here, the spawn's on the other side of this moving platform that goes up and down, which is kind of awkward. There's also a blast right here, which is really important to grab. So you want to get here first, but you absolutely do not want to get smashed by this platform, or you're going to give up the whole spawn, since the other person's going to be able to get this blast. So it could be interesting what happens here. This is just kind of one of those scenarios where you have to hope for the best, since I don't have time to look up and know where this platform is right now. Okay. Yeah, that's exactly what I meant. He gets completely smashed. Let's watch that replay. He gets unlucky here, and I'm able to get the blast. I mean, I didn't even really play carefully or anything. I just got lucky, which is okay to acknowledge. Maybe he could have looked out for the platform a little bit more. Obviously, I could have looked out for the platform a little bit more. But because of that, I'm in the fortunate situation where I have blast and I am alive. And so I should be red, red, yellow here, and then path back for red, super jump. And he's maybe going to get 1 or 2 gems. Fortunately, this is Platinum Construction Co., so I screw up. So I should have gotten more from the spawn. He's going to spend his blast on me, and the next spawn comes. It's exactly where we just came from, and the blast has respawned. This platform's not going to hit anyone this time, so whoever gets this blast first should have advantage, since we both don't have it right now. So I grab it. What I should be doing here is figuring out where exactly he is behind me so that I can blast him effectively. I don't do that, and instead he's able to get over to this yellow before my blast can really have any effect. He does miss, though, so I'm able to share that one with him, and I have super jump. So it's good to have super jump when you're in this outside area here. I guess the next spawn hasn't loaded yet. Okay, there it is. Up on this platform, and this is where the super jump is going to have its advantage. And I know he just used the super speed to secure that gem. So this spawn should be all mine, basically. He can ride this platform, but this one's up here right now. So, there's 7 points or whatever in here, and I should get 6 or 7 of it. I path for this blast first just to have it, because I know that I'm significantly ahead of him. And I should have this spawn. So blast, red, red, yellow. That's a majority. And I let him get 2 reds, but at this point I have blast, and he probably doesn't. I have a super jump, and he probably doesn't. So I'm in good shape. And unfortunately, this next spawn is not really a spawn that I can take advantage of my better preparation. We just have to run over here, and Super Jump's not going to help me at all with that. So he's going to have this chance to pick up some power-ups and blasts, potentially, and equal his position. At this point, it's still an even game, so we're a minute and 40 in, and basically nothing has swung one way or the other. He uses super speed, but this map is really hard, and he's only able to get one gem with that. So again, I know he doesn't have a power-up because he just used super speed and put himself in a position where he has to try and figure that out for the next spawn. And I have super jump, but this is not, if it was a top spawn, I'd be in amazing shape again, but it's not. So that's just how it goes sometimes. You have to, assume that risk. This is a risk management game as much as it is any other kind of game. And, 1/3 chance that it's on the bottom, middle, or top. I mean, obviously that's an approximation, but super jump is only super helpful if it's on the top. That's where it's kind of getting its use, is that you're hedging your bets, because on the super jump, if the spawn's on the middle layer and you're on the middle layer, then a super speed's going to be better, but it's not like dreadful or anything. But if there's a top spawn and you have a super jump and your opponent doesn't, you're going to be in much better shape. And so kind of the expected value calculation, if you read my multiplayer guide, says that on average a super jump is probably a little bit better. And I mean, it's also a little bit more rare on this level. You kind of have to prepare and plan to route for them. So this spawn's on the bottom. I'm able to get down there haphazardly. He was able to beat me, and I try and blast him, but I blast him right into the yellow, which is unfortunate. So this next spawn's right above me. I need to do a respawn abuse to make this work. I have a 10-point lead off the last few spawns, so I need to try and ride this momentum. Fortunately, I have the super jump, which is not all that helpful here, so we'll see if I pull off this respawn abuse, but, once that happens, that's really all I can ask. Okay, hit the pole, pull it off. And this is actually a great spawn point, because not only do I get this, well, actually I don't know if I want this super speed, but it's in my way, so I'll probably grab it just to deny Mazik potentially. And then yellow, red, yellow. And if he's close, I can use the super speed I pick up to secure this yellow. I don't know where he is at this point, but he probably did his own respawn abuse and is really close to me. Yep, there he is. I'm still able to get all of those, but he is mostly as well, so it's kind of moot. And then why am I running over here? Let's look at this. Why am I running over here? Okay, so I'm trying to get blast, I think. Yeah, I'm trying to get blast. I know there's a blast over there. But this is a little bit greedy, right? Because once he picks up this leftover gem that I leave, if he decides to do that, which he does, which is probably a decent decision on his part. Once he does that, it triggers the next spawn, and so I'm kind of caught with my pants down here, which is not where I want to be. And he gets super lucky where the gem spawn is on top of him, which is going to mean the whole spawn is basically his. But even so, I think this is the right play for him, and this is something that he does well here, and it catches me out. I try and 180 as quickly as possible, and if I did this, maybe I get a gem or two, but no, he's going to get this whole spawn. So at this point, he's getting this whole spawn. I need to react faster and say, okay, he's getting this whole spawn, what can I do? And I could go back and get that blast, and there's a super speed over there. Right now I have no power up, so I think that's probably the play. But instead, I try and go back, and this is kind of a sunk cost, But I see players do this a lot, is they go for these sorts of spawns that are already gone. And this is a big mistake. If you cut this out of your play, you can potentially, get rid of really bad situations where the other player gets to the next spawn first. And it can really swing games if you know what you're doing. Yeah, so I'm going to get one red out of this whole spawn. I missed the super speed. I have no power up. I have no blast. He's already rolling this way towards the next spawn. So this is really bad. This is what I would describe as an inflection point in this game, is he picks the last red. He gets lucky with the spawn. He cleans up that spawn, and he has better scenario for this. He has tempo, basically, in the guide is what I'm referring to right here. So yeah, he should... I have a super speed... Well, if I did, I would probably look all right for getting these 5 gems here, these yellow and red. But I don't, so he's probably going to get these. I should know this at this point, since I missed the super speed, but that's a lot to think about in the moment. But my best case is probably I get these 2 reds and grab this yellow, and he gets a small gain. Okay, so I do give that up and able to get the yellow. Maybe I should try to grab the super speed first because I'm still without a power up. And at this point, you can see he's closing the gap and has major tempo on me at this point. So he's really good momentum in this game. There's 1 gem left off to the left, and he's going the other way. So he's probably not coming back for this red. He's probably, in his mind, he's probably sacked it and leaving it as a leftover for me to get if I want to. But given I have 4 seconds, I should try and get this blast. I should try and get the super jump. So that's what I should do. We'll see if I do that. Okay, no, so I don't. And this is really bad, right? Because the blue spawns behind me. He's behind me. He probably has a power up by now. I still don't have blast. I still don't have a power up. This is probably his blue, 90%. He might not know that this is his blue 90%, but it doesn't really matter whether he knows or not with blues because like you always go for blues anyway, like 90% of the time. So this is probably gone. I need to be thinking about how to get these reds as much as I can and fix my situation. So this could be, you know, a scenario that I talk about in the guide where I just sack this spawn. I go for blast, I go for power up. Or I can try and do that while still getting some of these reds. Oh, so it's actually below, which is an entirely different situation because he's not really closer than me to it. I still don't have a power up, so he's still favored to get this, but I have a chance, so I need to go for it. Blues are such a big swing that you need to go for it. So he is going to get it. Never mind, he's going to die. But it happens sometimes. I respect Mazik as a player enough for me to not. I mean, look at this situation, right? Right here, I have to assume that Mazik is the player on the level that he is, and assume he gets the blue. It would be so dumb for me to try and contest this blue at this point. So he is going to get this blue despite making a mistake, but you know he deserves that respect as a player. And you know players make mistakes sometimes, but you can't predict this mistake. It's just life when it happens. So my next best play is grab the yellow. I die. I grab a super jump, which is probably not ideal. I get the gems. The next spawn is behind me. I know Mazik is also behind me, so he's probably going to get the yellow and a few reds first. I still don't have blast. There's a blast over here, but this is probably close enough that I can't afford to sack it. So let's get a look at the spawn. And yeah, he's going to get this red and a yellow. And I'm probably going to get these 3 reds. He eventually gets the yellow. I get the 3 reds. Now, best case scenario for me, picking up this last red. This next spawn could be anywhere, so it's fine to pick up this red. But best case would be is it's at the very top, but I can take the cannon, and I'll be there first. Any other situation, middle spawn, I can probably still take the cannon. Lower spawn, he's going to have a big advantage, but he's also ready to respawn abuse off to this side. So there's basically half the spawns on the map that are going to favor me and half that are going to favor him. So we'll just see what happens next. I grab it, and it's actually the same spot. So he's a little bit more fortunate because the yellow's right here. He probably gets 5 points here, yellow, red, red, red. And this is not a good, you know, layout for me at all. I can maybe get 2 or 3 here. He actually doesn't go for the yellow, which is, I guess he didn't react in time for it, which is fine. I don't know where he went. Okay, there he is. Yeah, that was probably a fine red for him to get. It wouldn't have been a great red for me to get. Let's look at why. If I get it, I'm sliding down, right? So the only time I should get that red is if I have the luxury of going to this platform and then coming up. But if I go down, I'm going with the mud, and my momentum is significantly worse than Mazik for the next spawn. So we're going to wait out this timer and figure out what's happened next. I'm going closer to the cannon because once one person goes up the cannon, the gate will close. So if you go in right behind someone else, it will completely screw you over. So I want to not let that happen to me and potentially happen to him if I'm there first. But the spawn's way over here on the right. I can't tell if this is lower or middle level. Sorry. Just yet. So I need to look and try and figure that out. Okay, it's on the middle level. So he's probably going to get there first with respawn abuse because I think he has a super speed. But I have a super jump, so that's not really an option for me. I'm playing this without audio, but this is also a situation where audio cues are helpful because I've lost sight of him, but I can still hear if he uses super speed. I can still hear if he uses cannon, super jump, that kind of thing. So use sound to inform what's going on in the game. When you hear someone use a power up, you have to make an educated guess about where they are and what they might be using that power up for. Just a note. So I expect him to come out from respawn abuse around here and collect most of these gems. I've kind of been fortunate. I feel like he's played the last spawns with way more tempo than I have, but the lead hasn't really closed all that much. It's up to 8 points. Okay, so there's the respawn abuse. I'm able to come down, but not quick enough to get the yellow. It was still close enough for me to go for. Okay, so at this point, there's a leftover gem, but I have a super jump. And I don't know if he has a power up. He probably, well, I can hear maybe if I wanted to, and hear if he uses super speed. But at this point, I have a super jump on the middle level, so I feel like I'm in a better position than he is, even though I don't have blast, and even though my position will be a little bit further from the center of the map if I grab this. So I'm gonna risk it. Maybe it's better play to wait it out here, given the narrow lead. But I mean, there's still 2 minutes left in the game. It's still anyone's game. So I grab it. He actually went back for it too, so it's better that I grabbed it. I'm in a better position now. I don't know if he has blast or not. It'd be really bad if he did, since he could probably get most of this spawn. But there's not really an obvious blast. I mean, there's one here, but it's out of the way. I would be giving up the spawn to go for it. So I turn around faster. I use the mud, actually, to slow my fall. Otherwise, it could be, a little annoying to try and recoil off this. But this should probably be 5 points. Maybe he shares some of it. He does get some of it, but he has to go fast enough that he falls off the map, so I'm able to double back and get these. And again, I'm on the outside of the lowest lever. I don't know why I can't say level today, but yeah, I have super jump, and we're outside. So this is good. I have enough blast that if it is on the top spawn, at the very top of the map, I can use blast plus super jump to get there, and I'll probably be there first. Okay, so it's actually a lower spawn. It looks like this platform is either going, I don't know if this is going up or down, but this might crash down on one of us again. But this is a blue, so we don't have the luxury of waiting and hoping. We just kind of YOLO it, since, again, blues are everything in this game. We'll see what happens. I expect him to have a super speed and be favored to get it at this point. Why do I go up? Okay, this is a huge mistake on my part. I forgot that this happened. So I see gems appear, and I guess I thought that it was on the top level. So I super jump, and this is going to be his whole spawn. Okay, so now that I've screwed up and this whole spawn is his, I need to be thinking about adapting from here. And that means preparing for the next spawn. So my checklist is positioning, power up, blast. I don't have any of these 3 things right now. I mean, maybe positioning is all right on this middle level, but I need a power up, preferably super jump if I'm going to be on the middle, and I need blast. So I can easily get those things accomplished by the time he collects all these gems, especially if he waits for the last red. Now, he heard me super jump, and he probably thinks I'm an idiot right now. So he's probably going to take his sweet time collecting these gems. But if he does that, he's running out the clock, and it's probably an even game. So I know there's a blast and a super jump behind me to the right, so that's where I need to be going. Okay, so I'm actually going to go down and try and get some gems, but at this point the blue's gone, so I really don't like this play. But it turns out to be the right play because a blue spawns right here. There's also a yellow. Mazik's probably right behind me at this point, so I kind of just have to send it for the blue. We'll see if I get it uncontested. Okay, I jump, which is probably unnecessary, but an unnecessary risk, but it works out, and it looks like I'm able to get it solo. Wait, did I? Yeah, I did. Okay, so he's at that many points. So red, blue. I am able to halt the momentum here. So I turn around and try and go for this yellow. It looks like he was taking some gems behind me, so he's going for those reds, I think. Okay, so he does come back into yellow. The right play here is get one of the gems, not both. So I'm able to get in a better position. Maybe grab the blast. But if he gets both here, then it's kind of whatever. I don't think either of us are in a significantly better position than the other. Although I probably would rather have a super speed, which he may have. He does grab it, and I screw up. I fall on the mud. If I'm not on the mud here, this is a lot better. Yeah, I fall off. So that's going to make a big difference. He's already respawn abusing up to the blue. This is probably his whole spawn. Oh, he actually takes the cannon, which is fine. So I try and spawn abuse, and it works out, and I get the blue. He also gets the blue, so it's basically a tie game. Really convenient timing. We got a minute and 20 to go, and it's a dead even game. Okay, so I have a super jump still, conveniently enough, and it's right above me. Now, this is a really annoying part of the map where if you use the super jump where you can pick up the super jump, you will just hit your head. So some map knowledge not to do that. I need to go out. Maybe I give myself a little bit too much wiggle room with that. But yeah, I need to go up. I need to go for the yellow. Okay, I screw up anyway. Have to re-grab the super jump. So at this point, he's already getting the yellows. And I was ahead up until this point. If I didn't bonk my head with the super jump, it's probably still me with the lead. So there's a leftover red here. I know there's a super speed over here, so I'm going to grab that since I don't currently have a power up. And there's a blast here that he probably just got, so I know he has blast. He uses it for not really much gain, to be honest. So a mistake on his part, but I'm coming over here. I see double yellow. This is going to be hard to technically pull off, but I'm going to try and get both yellows and bank off this thing and go back and get some reds. There's also a super jump over here I want to grab since I'll be on the middle level. Whereas he's coming from down here now. There will be a super speed for him, but I think this is probably favored to me at this point. Okay, so I screw it up predictably. Still able to grab the super jump, but he also has one, and he's able to come out a little bit ahead on these gems. Now we both have super jump. It's a top spawn. We're both going to use it. It's a bunch of reds, so probably not much gain either way. I don't know why he goes off to the left. I think he's prioritizing getting a super speed back. But this way has the blast, which I think might be more relevant coming from this position on top. Because if it's a bottom spawn, like super speed doesn't really help you all that much. So he's going to pick up that last red. I grab the blast. Unfortunately, the next spawn's behind me, which I guess is kind of predictable since we're on this end of the map. But he's going to be closer, but I will have blast. So I need, in order to make up for this difference, I need to find a way to use the blast to swing the point differential towards me. Okay, he's right here. He has the super speed that he went for, so this is going to be his chance to use his advantage to try and pick up some gems. But super speeding for this yellow seems really risky. I mean, you're going to have to go out of bounds and then kind of respawn and try and work your way back that way. Whereas I have blast and I'm going to land towards the reds, I can try and loop red, 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 yellow. So that's what I'm going to try and do. Obviously, the yellow thing is spinning. He's going to go for this yellow too, and this is probably a misplay here. If I get this yellow, I have the lead, or it's a tie game. And I have momentum as well. So I know he's going for this yellow. I need to try and knock him off with the blast, but I'm not able to do that. Okay, so at least I hold the blast. So he just spent his whole momentum going that way. And since it was the last gem in the spawn, and the next spawn's behind me, I have a significant advantage here, since he's probably going to go out of bounds and respawn on the other side. So it probably should be a tie game after the spawn. He definitely get back a lot quicker than I expect. Let's see what happens. Oh, okay. He didn't super speed for that. He just rolled and came back. Gotcha. Okay, so with that information, it might have been better for me to go red, 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 turn around and get red. Instead, I kind of go ooh, shiny for this yellow, which is a misplay. So this is not good by me. And also, there's no power up over here. Whereas if I go red, 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 I can get the super speed and maybe the blast. But I already have blast. Yeah, so he does the red, red, red super speed, or red, 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 red. So this is better by him. He's playing these last moments of this game better than me. This is not like luck or anything. He's reacting and adapting better. So this is something where I really could have improved. Okay, it's a top spawn and the platform is here. He's probably gonna be able to catch that. I'm not close enough to really pull off a blast attack, but I could maybe, if he could jump on this platform, I could maybe blast him while it's going up, and he's stuck on it. And if I can knock him off there and make him out of bounds, that would be a win for me. There's still 30 seconds left, so if I'm able to get up here, I would be favored if I could get that whole spawn. Okay, so he blasts. Yeah, I blasted way too late here. I think if I just kamikaze myself, I think I could have rode that next platform instead of him, and he could have knocked off. So this is yet another area that I could have actually made an impact and swung this game. 30-second warning. I'm going up here. He's probably going to get this whole spawn or 1 or 2 gems for me. I have no blast. I have no power up. So he is significantly favored from this game state. Okay, he got the yellow, but I'm able to get a surprising amount of reds. Next spawn comes, 20 seconds, 7-point lead. This is all reds, so at this point it's very unlikely I'm able to do anything about this. I do have a super speed now. He's probably going to get this blast, so it won't be there for me. Yeah, so this is probably game. Yep, grabs it. And then jumping down in red, 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 probably 3 each. I'm able to eke out 1 point on him, but again, 13 seconds. Unless there's a blue on top of us, which there's not. Next spawn is down. I use the blast I get. I'm going to be able to clean up some gems here, but he comes down. And 2-point game. And next spawn is too far away for us to get. So 3-point win for Mazik. We looked at probably... I mean, this is an expert map. This is a map with a lot of mastery. It's a very hard map. There's going to be a lot of strategic and mechanical blunders on a map like this, which makes it really, really good to review. And I feel like this was a better one to review than the Skate Park Square game. Not that was a bad one to pick, but this is a really good one to pick. Yeah, there's a lot to be gained. There were like 4, 5, 6 major blunders where I lost the whole spawn to Mazik. And I didn't have to. So if I played everything perfectly, which is a little bit of an unfair argument to make because Mazik could have obviously played a lot better too, I would have won this game. You could have fixed one of those things and I would have won this game. Any one of them. Because it was a 3-point game. We each got 3 blues. I did better on the reds and he did better on the yellows, which was enough to win. So any one of those, if I played a little bit better, if I had the map knowledge a little bit better to not hit my head with the super jump, if I was able to get in a better position to blast, if I didn't pick up a leftover red and then instead went for a blast and super jump, any one of these situations would have changed the outcome of this game most likely. And that's kind of the benefit of this review is you can see those situations. So when they happen, when those scenarios reoccur in games, which they often do, you'll have a better chance of making the right decision. So, now that we finished this one out, let's kind of reflect. Am I overall satisfied with how this game? I thought the Skate Park Square game was a really high-level game for both of us. This game was a lot more sloppy, but that's kind of the nature of an expert-level map like PCC. I would rate my performance okay. Relative to where my skill level is, I probably played like a 6 or 7 out of 10. I thought Mazik played decently well, but I saw a number of mistakes on his side as well, obviously, given it was a close game. If he played better, he could have washed me out the same way that I'm saying I could have won if I fixed something. What factors played the biggest result in the outcome of the match? There were a couple swingy moments, like that blue, or me not blasting correctly or pathing incorrectly. So I talked about this already, so I don't want to harp on it too much. Did I play the last minute of the match as I should have taken into account the current scores? So the last 30 seconds of the game, I was significantly far behind and he had tempo. So it was going to be very hard. I would have required some luck with some spawns or blues, giving enough points to realistically make the swing back. That didn't happen, so it probably couldn't have been played terribly much better once we got to the 30-second mark. I don't think it was winnable for me without a major blunder by Mazik. But yeah, I should have had to take risks. There wasn't really any risk to take, just given where the spawns were. So not too much to complain about there. Did I execute my plans properly? It's PCC, so I made a lot of mechanical mistakes. Mazik made some as well. It's just how the map is. There's a bunch of stupid, BS with all the platforms and spots where you can get stuck or knocked in strange situations like the super speed at the start of the game and the mud. But, can always work on that. The more you practice this map, the less those are likely to happen. Hopefully one day the map gets updated to have some collision mesh between all the gaps and cracks. Did I have the right plans? Oftentimes, yes. I think largely I had a decent plan, but there were a number of situations where I should have done things a little bit differently. I would say luck did play a role. Obviously there was that moment where Mazik picked up the last gem that I was greeting to go for a blast for, and he got the whole spawn after that. That was lucky, favoring him, but, regardless, it was the right play by him, and, he fully deserves that swing in the game that happened to him. I think that's that. So, this was pretty long review. I think we're at over an hour now, but I mean, hopefully you see the value of reviewing a game like this, and understanding what there is to reflect on and improve. And if you like go back and think about these things as a player and incorporate them into your play, just because you're thinking about these things and are aware of what they mean and the cause and effect of how they affect a match, you're going to be in a better position fighting higher level opponents than you would be otherwise. So let me know if you like this content. Let me know if this was helpful or at least interesting perspective. I'm sorry it was long, but yeah, I hope you all enjoy it, and I can potentially do some more in the future if this is something that people enjoy. So, yep, thanks. Hope I'll see you in the game.